This is a... I'm going to pause the music so it doesn't get muted. This is a systemic problem in the Starcraft community, and that is getting upset that a player attack moved and took the victory. How does it work? How does a player attack move and win? In the fundamental case. Not in the, oh, maybe this unit is imbalanced, but in the majority of cases, in 99% of the time. How does it work? Let's open up the game and think about this. Nice try. Cool. Nice name. We'll look at attack move and how the player who has the better composition is afforded the ability to attack move and take a favorable trade. It doesn't always work that way. So you have to think about the macro that happened leading up to that attack move and what you could have done better. Because if someone just attack moved into you, maybe they just got to macro freely and they macroed a bit faster than you, and your harassment didn't quite put you ahead. New Gettysburg is a pretty turtly map, but in this case the map is not important. It's understanding the psychology of getting upset at an attack move and ruling out the action that led up to that point that allowed one player to be ahead and to attack move and take the victory. Because it's sort of the process of understanding what the opponent's strategy is and then creating something that counters their strategy, which will allow you to fight their army directly. So think about each match not just as, alright, I have my plan and I'm going to do this. You can have a plan, but if you have a plan that adjusts to what the opponent is doing, you're going to be way more effective because you'll know what units they have, what the properties of their units are going to be. So this beginning stage, they went for a couple Marines on a plane. That's great. What's their follow-up? Command center, siege tank, starport, engineering bay? Cool. It's just a nice macro game right now. That's cool. It's pretty even too. They have a similar number of workers, they have some mules, and all is well. It's a cool macro game. And you can appreciate that. You can appreciate not just the single outcome of did I win or did I lose this game, but what was the early game like? How was my early game? Did I get supply blocked? Did I forget to take one of my upgrades? Did I miss a piece of tech? Did my opponent harass me in some way? This game, the early game, wasn't super noteworthy. There was a Reaper, there was this Medivac, there were some Lings, but it was all fairly trivial in the grander scheme of what's happening. 78 workers to 81. This is a great macro game. No big fights yet. Just getting money, getting rich, getting technology, transferring workers on a plane. That's amazing. They have an island base. This is a glorious match, and Starcraft is a great game. So I know they're going mech, because I scouted. Look at my vision. Neuro's vision. Boom, factories. I scouted. So I knew. And my plan was, alright, I'm going to change from going Lingbane Muta into Ultra to Roach Hydra Viper into Broodlord. I have a different plan versus mech than I do bio. I also made 17 queens, which is different, and scales really well in supporting the units that do well against mech. So I'm attacking my opponent's strategy. What are their upgrades? They're going for 2-2. That's awesome. I'm getting some upgrades too. Who has map control right now? Well, this watchtower kind of is a main piece to control for map control, so they had it, but then a huge army came and took map control from them. How many bases do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4 bases. How many bases do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I'm occupying more of the map, I'm creating a larger bank. If I have a larger bank, then that means I can remax more times on more luxurious units. It's true that if we go to the Active Forces tab, they have more gas in their 200 supply than I do right now, but if you add this number, my gas, with this number here, I'm going to be able to produce more gas for that first fight and then the second fight. if you add up both of those. So what could they have done better? They could have taken this space a bit sooner. If they were maxed, they could have taken this expansion or this expansion. They should have taken another expansion if they want to play a passive, gas-intensive type of game plan against the Zerg. Because what is their game plan? That's a good question to ask. Like, what's their win condition? Are they trying to get to 200 supply and then move out and win? It seems like their plan is to expand very slowly and never attack with the main army, which has its limitations in that you sacrifice the entire rest of the map to Zerg. And Zerg is going to be most successful when they unlock all of their tech. So I have Broodlord tech, Hydra tech with Hydra range, I have upgrades, I have Roach tech, I have Viper tech. I could have got Adrenal Glands, that would have been kind of cool. But yeah, it's not just, oh, Zerg is so AMove. It's my strategy is exploitable to greed. And the Zerg opponent I faced mined more gas than me, traded out an army, so I traded out my Roach Hydra Viper. Like I was saying, I had less gas in my army composition than them, and I killed some of their gassy units and caused problems for them, while making even better units behind it. So I'm making 17 Corruptors and 8 Hydras to prepare for a Broodlord transition, which is going to be pretty good against their army. Broodlord is kind of like the final anti-ground unit for Zerg if you're trying to break a siege location, which they're very entrenched here. Broodlord is going to be better than Ultra. So I'm making more Vipers, and I'm going to finish them off with Broodlord Viper. So was it really an A move? Was this game really just boiling down to a single A move? Because there are a lot of things, a lot of key decisions that happened in the stage where players weren't attacking each other. We didn't fight for a long time, and then this fight that I took here was only with part of my army. I kept all my queens here with the intention of using these queens with the Broodlords. Because you could say the value of a queen's transfuse is proportionate to the health that it applies on the unit that it applies health to. So you're basically getting more Broodlords worth of value, more Corruptors worth of value, or more Queens worth of value with this transfuse. And the Queens have full energy. So I shaped the game by taking that Roach Hydra Viper fight. Look at the Active Forces tab. Now I have the bigger army. I have more minerals in my army, and I have only slightly less gas, and I'm not even maxed yet. So being able to take this fight was afforded by my early to mid-game economy growth, mining a bunch of gas on the map, trading out some Roach Hydra Viper in a cost-efficient manner, and then getting to an even better composition against them, leveraging my larger gas bank. So here I have a bigger army, and I have a bigger gas bank. Gas is a more precious resource than minerals, especially if it's versus mech. Mech really needs gas to make good units. Minerals for them aren't really amazing. Like Hellion and Hellbat are the only units they can make from that. So, increasing the Broodlord count even further. Another really noteworthy point is considering the number of workers you have in your economy in the late game. This is 18 minutes into the game, so we're very safely in the late game. If you're looking at your 200 supply, each worker you have occupies 1 supply of the 200. So I have 64 slots filled in units that are not going to fight in the main battle. The opponent has 73 workers that are not going to fight in the main battle. I would say that this is too many. If you're going to go for 73 workers, you want to be trading out your army more quickly and then remaxing. So one way they could do this in a cost-efficient manner would be to make more Hellions and just keep sending them in bases. If I don't build spines, they could keep sending the Hellions in all my expansions to get rid of some of this mineral bank here. Because if you think about banks in general, it's potential strength in the game. It's not current strength. This value is not actively fighting on the field. It's not a threat that's going to damage you. This is like a future, maybe this could become something amazing. But we'll look at this engagement that happens and their inability to spend this bank in time to be able to defend their production. So they're going for a base. Thor's moving around to cancel my expansions. Me putting hatcheries here is, if they're not going to attack those, I can use these locations and start mining out the gas. So I starve out the opponent. If they're going to turtle, then I can take whatever resource on the map there is and just convert it into more Zerg stuff. So 100 minerals of the map could be converted into a spine, a spore. You're kind of swarmifying the whole landscape. And every mineral that you mine and convert into a Zerg unit is a mineral that the opponent cannot mine and convert into one of their units. So now here, what's the game state here? Because I have even fewer workers. Let's look at units. Active forces. I have 9.6k mineral, 6.6k gas in army, because I have 48 workers and I'm almost maxed. The opponent still has 73. So this is kind of culminating not just to Zerg made a good army composition and beat the Terran. Zerg committed more supply to army with good units that synergize well with each other, that do well with the playstyle of the Terran. So, sure, it makes sense that if you add up these 20 minutes of factors, that Zerg could potentially AMove and win. And it's not even AMove, because you have Queens transfusing and Vipers doing Abduct and Parasitic Bomb. Be able to take responsibility. If you lost a game, just take some responsibility. Say, alright, I might not know exactly where right now, but I messed up at some point. If I am actively getting rolled by my opponent is attacking into me, I have no army left, I'm feeling a little bit upset for the time that was spent. What could I have done better? It's okay to not know what you could have done better. That's what the replay is for. So you say GG, well played, or you say nothing, and you leave out of the game, and you load the replay, and you look for your macro mistakes, and you see where you fell behind, and you see the errors in your decision making, if you want to get better. Tell him. I'm not to poke at imbalances, but don't you think it's harder to control a late-game Terran... Which late-game Terran army versus a late-game Zerg army? Splitting Vikings versus splitting Corruptors? There's AoE spells. There's... What is that Raven ability, where they put the little Seeker missile onto one of your units? I've seen enough, like, silver... You could say bronze to diamond Zerg to know that for most players in the Starcraft scene, splitting units is hard in general. It doesn't matter if you're a Terran player splitting Vikings against Parasitic Bomb, or you're a Zerg player splitting Corruptors against Parasitic Bomb and ZVZ, or against Seeker Missile. Splitting is one of the paths of mastery, you could say, in getting better as a Starcraft player and as an RTS gamer. So the balance differences are very, very slight. It really depends on the state of the game, and usually the person who macros better is going to have a more forgiving engagement. They can make more mistakes and still trade evenly or win the fight. So that's generally the first thing to focus on, is how can I drone better and how can I spend my bank better? And then how is the mechanical efficiency of my engagements, and how can I improve the use of my hotkeys? Like, Papa bless Avilo, he's an entertainer for sure, but in terms of his mechanics, you don't really see him start up a stream and say, alright, what are some of the bad habits I have in my mechanics, and how can I improve my decision making, how can I improve my camera control, how can I improve my hotkey setup? Questions like that are super crucial to going from mid-GM to the competitive level. And it's very easy to get complacent Because once you get into Master or GM, a lot of times people will think that they're good. I'm good now, so I don't need to change my stuff. If the game isn't working, it's because the game is broken, not me.